Okay, thank you so much. So, employee state insurance. We are going to discuss about the scheme's benefits, eligibility criteria, and everything about employee state insurance. So, first, employee state insurance. It is administered by the Employee State Insurance Corporation, and this particular Employee State Insurance Corporation scheme provides members financial protection in case of an untimely health related eventuality. So the scheme offers medical benefits, disability benefits, maternity benefits, unemployment allowances, and other benefits, right? So in a time when the industry was still in its nascent stage, right, the people of India was still heavily dependent on a large assortment of imported goods and services. So these goods and services were provided by either the developed or developing parts of the world. So India, being the self-dependent country, so it is started developing the working class sector, so ensure that manufacturing and labor jobs remained in the country. So the workforce was developing in the country, and it was dedicated to ensure that industry in India begins to grow and thrive. So to ensure that these workers were protected in terms of health and finances, the Parliament implemented the Employee State Insurance Act 1948. In shorter, it is ESI Act 1948. So it was the first major legislation that was meant to garner social security for workers. So this ESI Act encompasses health-related eventualities which workers are exposed to on a daily basis. So this could include any type of sickness, temporary or permanent disability, maternity, and diseases contracted from a workplace, in case of death due to employment, and any type of injury that results in the loss of wages or earning capacity. This ESA Act acts as financial safety net for workers against these kind of ailments. So next, eligibility. Who are eligible for ESI? To come under the vast umbrella of benefits, so which I mentioned in the previous slide, offered by the Employee State Insurance Corporation, an individual should meet certain criteria that has been set by the committee of ESI Corporation. So the ESI scheme applicable to an individual who is employed in a non-seasonal factory that has more than 10 employees. So this particular criteria applies under section 2 of 12 of the Act. With effect from 1st Jan 2017, the wage limit of an employee is set to 21,000 per month for him or her to come under the coverage of ESI scheme. So what is that coverage, right? So this particular coverage, I mean, the scope of ESI scheme is has also been made extended to hotels, shops, cinema halls, preview theaters, restaurants, newspaper establishments, and road motor transport undertakings, etc. So this particular scheme has also been extended to the private educational and medical institutions that have employed 10 or more people. And this is applicable in certain states and union territories also. And this particular ESI scheme has been implemented or wise throughout the country. So this scheme has been implemented in stages in every state in India except Arunachal Pradesh and Manipur. So this scheme has also been enacted in all union territories except Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar, and Lakshadweep Islands. So this ESI scheme has been notified in a total of 325 complete districts out of total 393 districts in India. So out of these notified districts, 89 districts implemented the scheme partially. So what are the features and benefits of ESI scheme? So there are numerous of attractive features and benefits that are offered by the Employee State Insurance Corporation. So not only does it provide medical benefits, but it also comes with a level of financial security in times of financial hardship like unemployment, etc. Right? So some of them are medical benefits first. The Employee State Insurance Corporation takes care of an individual's medical expenses by providing reasonable medical care. This covers, this particular benefit comes into effect from day one of the individual's employment. Second one, disability benefit. So in case of an employee is disabled due to various reasons, so ESIC ensures that the employee is paid their monthly wages for the period of the injury cases of a temporary disablement or for the remainder of the employee's life in case of a permanent disablement. And third one, maternity benefit. ESIC helps an employee welcome their baby to household which has been showered with benefits. So ESIC provides a total of 100% of the average daily wages for a period of 26 weeks from the time of going into labor and 6 weeks in case of a miscarriage. And 12 weeks of pay is provided in case of an adoption. And fourth one, sickness benefits. So ESIC ensures that there should be a flow of cash coming into the employee's household during medical leave. So 70% of the average daily wages of an employee is paid during medical leave for a maximum period of 91 days in 2 successive benefit periods. And next one, unemployment allowances. So ESI provides a monthly cash allowances for a maximum period of 24 months in case of permanent invalidity due to an non-employment injury or due to involuntary loss of employment. And the last one, dependent benefits. In case the employee with an untimely death due to an injury at the workplace of employment, ESI Corporation will provide monthly payments apportioned among the surviving dependents who are mentioned in the earlier enrollment form. And other than these major benefits, ESI provides some other benefits also, like confinement expenses, funeral expenses, physical rehabilitation, vocational training, skill upgradation under Rajiv Gandhi Shramik Kalyan Yojana, right? And these are the other benefits. So when should a company should register in with ESI? So when a company employs 10 or more people, so when a company employs 10 or more people, it is mandatory for that company or any other entity to register with ESI Corporation. An employee who earns less than 21,000 per month and who will contribute 0.75% of his or her salary towards the ESI, whereas the employer pays the 3.75 towards the ESI. So it makes the total of 4.5% of contribution of both employer and employee. So the company or establishment can apply for an ESI registration within 15 days from the time the ESI Act becomes applicable to that company or establishment. So for registration, let us see what are the documents required. So these documents are needed when registering a company or establishment with ESI Corporation, which are certificate of registration. So in case of private limited company, ROC should be submitted of the company or establishment. License or registration certificate that can be obtained under the Shops and Establishment Act or the Factories Act. So in case of sole proprietors, they can get this particular SMD certificate for the registration of ESE, and the certificate of registration for every entity for the commencement of production of factory. So in case we are in the manufacturing, then we can submit the license for commencement of production, right? That can be submitted. And next one, detailed list of employees along with their family monthly compensation, and list of partners, shareholders and directors of the company or establishment, the company's bank statements along with sufficient evidence about the commencement of operations. And then last one, address proof and PAN card of the business establishment or the company. And next one, what is the registration procedure? So an individual or a company should follow certain procedure to initiate the ESA registration of a company or establishment. So that are, first, the company can apply for ESA registration by duly filling up and submitting the employer's registration form with the form number 1. So after that, the employee can also access the PDF format of the form that is available on the website of ESI Corporation, and duly fill up the form and submit the same to the ESI Corporation on the official website. Once the application and documents have been verified, a 17-digit registration number will be provided to the organization. Once the company or organization has received their 17-digit number, they can file their ESI filings regularly. And employees who are registered under the ESI scheme will receive an ESI card after they have submitted a form along with their photographs as well as details about their family members. So any new changes like the additions of employees, etc., will have to be intimated to the ESI Corporation. And the following documents are required while filing the returns of ESI. So first one, register for Form 6, attendance register, inspection book, register of wages, register of any accidents on the premises, and returns and monthly challans submitted for ESI corporations. Next, do's and don'ts of ESI scheme. First, let us see what are the do's of ESI scheme. So there are certain things that an employee has to follow to ensure that their run in their ESI corporation family goes smoothly. So some of the things has to be kept in mind. So those are, first one, Pehchan card. So Pehchan card acts as an employee's visa to their social security. So it should be protected from theft or damage. So Pehchan card is important one document. And next, an individual should ensure that they report a loss of the Pehchan card to their branch office or dispensary immediately. And third one, if an employee or worker who has an ESI registration number who switches the job also, they should inform the new employer about the same. And there are certain benefits which are provided based on the length of their contribution. So if the employee or worker switches their jobs and register themselves using this same ESI number, and the benefits which are related will be awarded to the employee from the new company also. And referral procedure should be taken seriously and follow the doctor's instructions carefully. and the employee or worker should ensure that they get their form number 105 signed by their employer in case the employee wishes to go on an outstation journey. So this helps in case the employee or worker needs to avail ESI facilities in another region. And what are the don'ts of ESI scheme? So we have to ensure that we do not make the following mistakes. First one, the employee or worker should ensure that a non-eligible individual is not added to the employee's declaration form for the purpose of availing medical attention. And it is important that the patient card is not defaced or tampered with any way, and the employee or worker should ensure that they do not lend their patient card to anyone. And the employee or worker should not fake an injury, right? So they should not fake an injury or illness for the sole purpose of claiming benefits from ESI. And don't procure a fake or forged certification from a doctor. And touts should never be approached for favors, and the employee or worker should ensure that they do not pay for an ESI form, as these are supplied for free at the branch offices. And at last, the employee or worker should add or delete a family member in their declaration in case of a birth or death in the family respectively. Next, what is that redressal of grievances? So here, a public grievances redressal system has been set up by the ESI Corporation to aid in clearing out any queries or issues that an employee might have. So helplines have been set up to cater to the workers and employees under the ESI scheme. So the numbers are toll free and can be contacted at any time of the day. So this contact number and helpline number will be given to the employees after getting registration. In the patient card itself, all those details will be mentioned. So here, I have given some of the frequently asked questions. So let me have that the common question arise out of ESI. So I will answer it, and later we'll go to the forms of what we regularly use with ESI. So here, first question, which is very common. So what is the procedure for registration of an employer? So you might have this question with you in your mind. So let me answer. So when an individual joins a company or organization, the employee is mandated to provide their family details along with valid photographs to the employer so that the employer can register the employee and his family members online. Once the registration process is completed, a 17-digit employee number will be provided, which has to be used throughout the lifetime of the insured employee. So this number should be consistently used even if the employee changes his job or place of employment. And second question, is it mandatory for employers to register under ESI Act? Absolutely yes. So it is mandatory that an employer who falls within the eligibility bracket, right? So if the company falls within the eligibility bracket, then it automatically becomes mandatory, and of the ESI scheme to register themselves under the ESI scheme under section 2A of the Employee State Insurance Act 1948. So the factory, company or establishment should be registered with the ESI within 15 days from the time the organization is cleared for registration. So when the company becomes eligible for registration, within 15 days that should be made, right? And third question, what are the compliances requirements? So an individual who is employed in a non-seasonal factory that has more than 10 employees, this criteria applies under section 12 of 2 of the Act. So with effect from 1st January 2017, wage limit is set at 21,000 per month. So whoever earns 21,000 or less than that will come under the coverage of the ESI scheme. And fourth question, are the benefits that are granted to insured employees transferable? So in case of the untimely death of insured employee due to an injury or disease contracted from the work environment, the benefit that the employee is entitled to is passed on to the insured's dependents. So here the deceased person is already entitled to pass on their benefits to their dependents who who are mentioned in their enrollment form. And next question, what is the ESI code number? So again, it is a 17-digit identification number that is allotted to every employee of a factory of our organization who are registered under the coverage of the Act. And sixth question, is it possible for an establishment or factory which was once covered go out of coverage if the number of persons employed by them falls below the minimum prescribed, right? So what if it falls less than 10 members in the company? So once the company or factory or organization comes under the coverage of Act, it reaps the benefits of the Act for life. So the company or organization does not fall out of coverage if the number of employees reduce or any other reason. And seventh question, if wages of an employee exceeds 21,000 in a month, will he or she be covered and the deduction of the contribution from his wage be stopped? If the wages of an employee exceed 21,000 in a month, then he or she will be covered till the end of the contribution period. Contribution shall be deducted and paid depending on the total wages that have been earned by the employee. And the next question, is the overtime done by the employee included for the wage ceiling limit for the coverage? So overtime has been excluded from being considered when calculating the wages of an employee. So overtime is not a continuous mode of earning money. So if overtime is considered, the employee will float in and out of the coverage limit, and this will deprive the employee of any benefits that they might be eligible for. So only fixed proportions are taken into the calculation for ESI, which is gross salary, fixed salary, right? And the next question, what is the time limit for the payment of contribution? Any and all contributions should be made within 21 days from the last day of month. So within 21st, we have to file the returns. And what is the mode of payment of the contributions can be made? So the employer of a company or organization will have to file their monthly contributions on the official ESIC portal, and this should be done every month. So contributions can also be made through net banking. And next question, is there any interest on the delayed payment? An individual who fails to make a pay their contribution in the given time period will have to pay an interest of 12% per annum. So remember, interest of 12% per annum for each day that the individuals has defaulted on their payment. And 12th question, what are the records that are to be maintained for the purpose of ESI scheme? So along with an employee's wage record, muster roll and books of accounts, the employer will have to maintain the following, like inspection book, accident register in form 11. Employer will have to maintain an employee's register. And next, what is the scale of medical benefit? A full range surgical medical and obstetric treatment, which consists of outdoor treatment, supply of all dressings and drugs, inpatient treatment, radiological and pathological investigations, pre and postnatal care, ambulance services, super specialty consultation and treatment, and provision of artificial appliances, etc., will be the benefits for the medical treatments. And what is an identity card here? So once registered under the scheme, every employer will have to print out of the temporary identity certificate and affix a valid photographer that has been provided by employee. So the employer will have to authenticate the same with their seal and signature in the identity card. And next question, what is the Rajiv Gandhi Shramik Kalyan Yojana? So this Rajiv Gandhi Shramik Kalyan Yojana scheme acts as a safety net for an insured individual. If the factory or establishment where the insured works is closed for any particular reason, the insured will be entitled to an employment allowance that is paid every month. And this is applicable if the individual has been insured for at least 3 years of unemployment. So this scheme also covers the insured in case of an injury that leads to the insured's unemployment. And what are the benefits that the family members of the insured are entitled to? And first, family members of the insured person can avail medical care whenever needed. First one. Second, this particular medical benefit will be available for the insured's family members even during the insured's period of unemployment where he or she receives unemployment allowances. And family members will also be entitled to prosthetics like artificial limbs and artificial appliances as part of their medical treatment. The family of the insured can have funeral expenses of the deceased employee reimbursed to them. And any and all benefits will be paid to the nominee at the time of the insured's death. And if the insured employee meets with an untimely death due to a work-related injury, the insured's widow or widower and children will be entitled to the insured's benefits. And the next question, what are the establishments that are covered under ESI? So as per the notification that has been issued by the government, right? So that is concerned under section 1 of 5 of the ESI Act. So establishments that employ 10 or more individuals will come under the umbrella of benefits offered by the ESI scheme. And there are some states in India where the ESI coverage is granted to organization that employs 20 or more employees. And other establishments like restaurants and hotels that are Can you hear me now clearly? Is my am I audible to you now? Okay, thank you. Yes. So other than restaurant and hotels, shops, newspaper establishments, and the newspaper establishment should not be covered under section 2 of 21 as a factory. So they are not treated as factory. And road motor transport establishments, movie theaters, including privy theaters, private educational institutions that are run by trusts and individuals, societies, or any other type of organization, private medical institutions that are run by joint sector, corporates, charitable trust, private ownership hospital, diagnostic centers, nursing homes, pathological labs, etc. will be covered under the ESI Act. And what are the individuals who are termed as principal employers? So if the individual is employed in a factory, they will be called as occupier, owner, legal representative of the deceased occupier or owner, managing agent of the occupier or owner, manager of the factory. So they will be termed as the principal employers. And in case the organization, factory or establishment is under the control of the government of India, head of the department and the specified authority will be termed as the principal employer. And in the case of other organization or establishment, individuals who are responsible for the control and supervision of the establishment. Next question, who are the individuals to be covered as employees? So who are termed as employees? So if the individual is an employee who is employed directly by the employer or who is employed in any department of the factory or establishment in administration, sales, distribution, etc. of products of the establishment or factory. I repeat the same. If the individual is an employee who is employed directly by the employer or is employed in any department of the factory or establishment in administration department, sales, distribution, etc. of the products of the factory or establishment. So one employed within the premises of for work that needs to be done in the establishment or factory and by the employees of the immediate employer and employed outside the premises for work that needs to be done in the establishment or factory under the supervision of the principal employer, and one employed by the directors of the company, and the last one employees who are lent for hire to the principal employer at the establishment or factory. So next question, what is the maximum time limit for the payment of benefit contribution? So any contribution or benefit shall be paid by the bank to the employee after his or her case has been analyzed and approved. So this particular payment should be made within 21 days from the last day of the month when the contribution should be made for any given wage period. I repeat once more, and any contribution or benefit shall be paid by the bank to the employee after his or her case has been analyzed and approved. So this payment should be made within 21 days from the last day of the month when the contribution should be made for any given wage period. Okay, so let me explain you some of the ESI forms which we use it regularly. Just give me a moment, let me take the file. So this particular form is form number 1, declaration form. So this is to be filled by the employee after reading the instruction overleaf and 2 postcard size photographs to be attached with the form. So this form is free of cost and it is available in the ESI offices. So here, just look at the columns, what are the details required. So here first, insured person's particulars, in which the insurance number, name, father or husband name, date of birth, day, month, year, marital status, etc. And herein at the employer's particulars, employer code number, date of appointment, date, a month and year, address, and the previous insurance numbers, etc. And here in case of death, who will be the nominees of the benefits, and here nominees name, the relationship to the insured person, and their address to be mentioned here. And under the next in the declaration, they declare that and they take an undertaking to intimate the corporation any changes in the membership of my family within 15 days of such change. So that should be a declaration statement. And next here, we'll give the family particulars of insured person, their name, date of birth or age, and as in the date of filing form, and relationship with the employee, whether they are residing with him or not, and if no, then what is their place of residence. And here ESI Corporation's temporary identity card, for that they require details of name, insurance number, date of appointment, branch office address, dispensary address, and employer's code number and address. And it is valid for 3 months from the date of appointment, and we have to affix a photograph of us and officials' signatures. And the next form, this is form number 9. So claim for sickness, temporary disablement benefit, maternity benefit for sickness. So this particular form number 9 is comes under the regulation of 63 and 89B. So they have to give the details, their name, insurance number, and all those basic details. And because of the sickness or temporary disablement or sickness due to pregnancy, confinement, and premature birth of child, miscarriage, I have not been at work since. So from when he is not able to continue his work should be mentioned. And he has to state that he or she is no longer claimed to be sick or temporary disabled and premature from the date, and he or shall did not take up any work for remuneration before that date. That should also be mentioned. And they should get that they have not been any in receipt of any wages for the days of leave he has taken for that temporary disablement. And he is to ensure that he was not on strike during the period of certified abstention on account of sickness or temporary disablement from when and to, so for which their benefit should be claimed. So they have to attest that they are not in the strike. And they can decide the payment as a cash in the branch office or the money order, or they can get the direct transfer to their account. And the next form, so this is accident report. So form number 12 under the regulation of 68. So this particular accident report should be made, should be prepared at the time of accident. And here of the basic details of employer, code number, and branch office, they mention what is the nature of industry or business, name and address of the insured person, address of the premises where accident happened, and their age, occupation, department, hours. And the next, exact place of accident and date and hour of accident, hour at which work was started. That should be mentioned. And the nature and extent of injury that is like total loss of finger, fracture of leg, scald, etc. So they required the accurate details of what happened and what was seen as the at the first sight by the witness. So what is that location of injury, right or left hand, leg or eye? No, that should also be mentioned. And here, if the accident is not fatal, state whether the injured person has returned to work. If so, give date and hour of return of work. So we have to mention at what time the accident happened. If that accident is not fatal to him and he is not serious injury, and we have to mention that when he was back to work at what time, and what is the dispensary or IMF of the insured person who is covered under that particular region, and doctor or dispensary from where injured person received or receiving treatment, that should be mentioned, and date of death in case the injured person died, and what is the brief description of the accident. It is entirely like an first investigation report that will be prepared in the police station. So here also we'll give the accurate details, and every small detail should be covered. And here whether the wages in full or part they payable to him for the day of accident should be mentioned, and whether the injured person was on the day accident our employee as defined in section 2(9) of by him or her by the day on which the accident occurred. I'm sorry, is it audible now? Yeah, thank you. So I'll repeat once again. So here it is a cause of accident. So we have to mention that what caused that particular accident inside premises. So kindly note that it should be neither only if the accident happens inside the premises. And here, if the particular employee was working with machineries and it happened because of that machinery and related work, then we have to mention that what kind of machinery it was, whether it was a power installed with that machinery and he was moving it, or it is any moving machine, right? So first state whether it was moved by the mechanical power at that time. So we have to highlight that and state exactly what the injured person was doing at the time. So for this we can take the CCTV footages if we have installed CCTV in the production house. Otherwise we can take the statement from the witnesses who were near around the employed person when the accident was happened. And the next, was the injured person at the time of accident acting in contravention of, which means whether he was, the particular injured person was working as per the instruction, or was he contravening to the instructions. Here, the provisions of any law applicable to him should be highlighted, and orders given by him by or non behalf of the employer and acting without instruction from his employer. So whether he was acting as per the instruction given by the employer or not, that should be monitored and recorded here. And here, again, in case reply to C, all right, was yes, the state whether the act was done for the purpose and in connection with the employee's trade or business. So whatever the act or activity was carried out by that by particular employee who was injured should have carried the trade or business that are instructed by the uh, employer. If he was doing any unofficial activities like anything, right, that may be anything, yeah, which is unofficial, then that should not be a problem for the employer, because it is out of the instruction. He was totally in the unofficial activity. And here, in the case the accident happened while traveling in the employer's transport, and we have to state whether the injured person was traveling as a passenger to or from his place of work, or with the express or implied permission of the employer, and or the transport was being operated by or on behalf of the employee or some other person by whom it is provided in pursuance of arrangements made with the employer, or the vehicle was being or not being operated in the ordinary course of public transport services. So this particular cause of accident statement covers the accident happened out of the premises at the time of the traveling. So what is the traveling nature? So whether the employee was traveling as a passenger to his home or somewhere else from his place of work, or whether the express or implied permission of the employer. So before traveling, whether he has got the permission from the employer or not. And in case if the transport was being operated on behalf of the employer, whether it was done for the purpose of the trade or business, and whether the vehicle was being or not being operated in the ordinary course of public transport services, whether it was a special occasion or ordinary occasion was the traveling is, right? So that should be mentioned here. And they have to certify that the best of my knowledge and belief the particulars are correct in every aspect. So here that should be recorded. Yeah. So next form. So this one is form 6. It is a register of employees. It is a model of register of employees. So it is regulated under the section of 32. And here we mention the contribution period from 2. For ESI, we contribute monthly, but we file returns on biannual basis. So for every 6 months, we contribute, we file the returns for ESI. And here we have given the serial number, insurance number of the person's employees, name of the insured person, name of dispensary to which attached, occupation, department and shift if any, and if appointed or left the service during the contribution period, and what is the date of appointment leaving their services, that should be mentioned. And month, so I told you it is biannual return, so we take 6 months into the account for maintaining the register of contribution. So here we take months, number of days for which wages paid payable, and the same goes to next 3 months. And here another 3 months is covered, and their employer share, another 3 months their employer share, and another 3 months. So totally 6 months we take. And here and every month they have highlighted that number of days for which the wages paid payable, and total amount of wages paid, and employee share of contribution, and below that we take employers share. So grand total and what is that paid for the month. And next summary, total number of days for which wages paid payable or for the contribution period, and total amount of wages paid or payable in the contribution period, and total employee share, and daily wages. So this is what the employee register. And the next one, so here form number 17, as prescribed under the rule 14, it is called health register. So again, serial number and register of the adult worker, name of the worker and their sex, date of birth. And here it requires the details of department or works of the employee, and name of the hazardous process. If there is any hazardous process the employee has to carry out, and that should be mentioned, and dangerous process or operation, and the nature of job or occupation, raw materials produced or by products likely, and date of posting, date of leaving or transfer to other works, and reason for discharge or leaving, transfer, and the date, signs. And here after mentioning the generic details, and we go for medical examination. So every certain period we have to go for medical examination of the employees, and the result should be recorded. So here the results, signs and symptoms are observed, and nature of test and results, and result whether he is fit to continue or unfit to continue the job, and what is the period of temporary withdrawal from that work. If we had to break the employment for such treatment and their well-being, then what is that break period for the employees. And if declared unfit, then we have to state the reason for such withdrawal, why he is unfit and what was the reason, whether he was his health was very much affected due to the his working condition, then that should be highlighted. And we have to ensure that he has got the benefits rightly, and date of the declaring him unfit, and when he was issuing fitness certificate. And the next one, signature with date of the factory medical officer or the certifying surgeon. So this health register should be mentioned. And here they have no highlighted, and separate page should be maintained, and fresh entry should be made for a health examination. We should not duplicate or manipulate the data with the past entries, right? And Yeah. So almost, I have covered, all the details about ESI. So if you have more questions about, today's classes, then you can send me the questions in the WhatsApp group. So I'll be ready to answer your questions. So thank you so much for your patient listening. Yeah. So those who missed the classes, so can join in the afternoon session also. So the link already shared in the group, and you're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you. And I will share the recorded link also. So that should be useful for you.